Hi, I'm Megan Copeland, and I'm with His Beloved of Texas. And right now I do a lot of ministry, but I used to be a first and second grade teacher. I also taught kids in high school and in middle school, and one of my favorite things to do is to teach kids how to love and serve one another. We're all trying to raise kids who are going to be saints. So for me, my motto was always, love God, love others. Like if we can teach our kids those two things, how to love God with all our hearts and how to love others as we love ourselves, then we've succeeded in this parenting thing. So one of the things I would always teach my kids is the acronym STOP and THINK. Stop what you're saying. Before you say something to someone else, I want you to stop and think of these things. Is what I'm about to say truthful, helpful, important, necessary, and kind? If I can't say yes to all of those things, then I shouldn't say it out loud. And if we can do that, it will really change the relationships that kids have with one another. So I have a question for you. What happens when your child gets bullied? Or maybe even worse, your child becomes the one who is the bully. What do we do then? We've already taught them how to love and serve one another. Now what? So I think the biggest thing is teaching empathy, right? Is to know that kids don't bully because they're just mean kids. Kids bully because they're hurt, because they're alone, because they're suffering. So I have this book that I always use in my class once or twice a year. And this book is called Have You Filled a Bucket Today? And the premise of this book is that we all carry around these little invisible buckets. And my buckets carry my feelings, and your buckets carry your feelings. And we can either fill our buckets during the day or empty our buckets. And the way we do that is by being kind and loving to one another. We need each other to fill up our buckets. And the way we dip into each other's buckets is by being hurtful and unkind. And I always said to the kids, why would we ever want to hurt someone else? Because you know what happens with our buckets? When I fill your bucket, it fills mine too. It makes me feel so good to love you. But if I dip into your bucket, I dip into mine too. So why would we ever want to hurt someone else? Because it hurts us every single time. And the other thing this book says is that bullies are mean because they have empty buckets. They feel alone, they feel scared, and they need someone to fill them. So the first thing I do for my kids, if there's a problem like that, is send them out to love that person. Give them a kind note. An affirmation. You know, I really love the way you, whatever it is, find something that you can love about that child and tell them, because a little bit of love can make a huge difference in the life of a kid. Now, of course, we don't want our children to ever get hurt. So I am not advocating that you send your children into a dangerous situation, but if it's not dangerous, let them pour love on someone. What can hurt, right? And if it is a dangerous situation, invite them to tell someone. It is not tattling to tell a teacher or a parent that someone's hurting you. That should always, always be done. So I have another question for you. What if your kid is just not the kid who wants to show love to others? How do we get them to want to love and be kind and to serve? And a great way to do that is to start a service project in your own home. My family, whenever things get really hard and it seems like we're bickering a lot and fighting with each other, we find a way to love someone else. So something you could do right now today is to make a homeless bag. I'm sure you have things all over your house that you could gather together to give to the homeless. So find a Ziploc bag, or maybe even find an old bag that you don't use anymore. Put socks in it and granola bars, water bottle, a dollar bill, maybe a rosary or a prayer card, and a few snacks. Keep it in your car and then drive around. And the next time you see someone who's on the corner, roll your window down and teach your kids to introduce themselves. Hi, my name is Megan. What's your name? And then hand them the bag and say, we're praying for you. My kids love it. They get to the point where they're constantly looking for someone to love and serve on the streets because they know that there are our homeless brothers and sisters. Another thing you can do is do a food drive. We do these a couple times a year. Print off a flyer in your neighborhood and say, this pantry is looking for these foods. Pass them out on the doorsteps of your neighbors and say, we're going to come back in 2 days to pick them up. Have the bags on the corner? We'll be there. And you guys, with the pandemic right now, our food pantries are struggling. People need food. So it's a good way to teach empathy to your kids, to say, you know what, there are other people that need to be loved and served. And give it a shot. It's worth it.